Good afternoon, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And oh man, I'm excited about this one. No friends on this show, but this is a show that I've been wanting to do for over 2 years. It's what I've called in the title my mega project because I guess about 7 years ago, I started putting together a complete 1970 Topps autograph set. Now, we'll get into why that's not actually possible to do, but I did want to get into like the backstory, the origin, how I decided to go about doing this project, and some of the timing of it. So there's a lot of info in this video, going through a lot of different aspects of it. It's going to be kind of long, but stick with it because there's some good stuff in here and some fun stuff. And it's a bit of a journey that's been going on, like I said, for a while. So there's a lot to talk about. But took notes. that's how much there is in here. But anyway, so origin story is this. My first year of collecting is 1970, 70 Topps. I'm not even 7 years old yet, but I'm really into baseball, and I'm the youngest of 7 children. And so my brothers and sisters and my parents and whoever else would do it, would give me the 12 cents to go buy a pack. And I bought so many packs that summer. I had just a massive collection. I didn't even realize the concept of set building because I was not even 7 years old. But my cousin, who was my age, likes to tell the story about him coming up from Maryland to visit. And I had this massive collection. I had like 8 Hank Aaron's, and I wouldn't give him any. And now I feel bad about it years later, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, so what happens is I stopped collecting around 75, 76 in this sort of kid thing. And by the late 70s, like 77, 78, into like the early 80s, I start collecting vintage and sort of redoing my childhood collection and, becoming like an adult collector. And so at one point, I guess in that late 70s period, I tried to put together the 70s set, and I didn't finish it. I went away to college. I did a little bit of collecting then. I got way back into it in like the late 80s when my nephew was like 7 years old and he came up for summers. And we spent a lot of time. We went to shows. We did a lot of collecting. I was collecting like some junk wax then, but I was still doing vintage. And I do know from subsequently finding it that at that point I got about 200 commons in really sharp condition in a binder in pages where the numbers would correspond. So there were obviously a lot of empty spaces because the 1970 set is a 720 cards. So fast forward to 2012. I married. My kids are not quite yet teenagers yet. And Hurricane Sandy hits. And my collection was still in storage in my parents' house on the South Shore of Long Island. And my mother was gone at this point. My dad was still there. He was living, and my sister was there, sort of caretaking for him. And so Hurricane Sandy hits in 2012, and the water comes up into the backyard, into the basement, and and gets flooded for the first time ever. And so Hurricane Sandy cost me about a third of my collection. The good news is that the collection some of it was up top and some of it was down below. And most of the stuff up top were like binders and things like that. So I ended up losing a lot of stuff like, 89 score and, large groups of, what we call junk wax these days. But I was able to salvage about 2/3 of it, brought it all back into New York City, into our storage here. Went through it all, sorted it out. Some of it was not, I couldn't, some of it was obvious I got rid of when I was still out on Long Island, but the stuff that I brought back, some of the binders had gotten wet and gotten moldy, and the cards stuck together, and the cards stuck to the binder pages, and it was pretty ugly. But ultimately, I salvaged what I could, and started collecting again, and decided around that time to start working again on my 1970 Topps set. So this fast forward to like 2017, 2018. I'm going through all the cards and figuring it out, and I ultimately decide that I'm going to buy another starter set. And so I checked my eBay history, and on January 22nd, 2019, I bought a starter set on eBay of 538 of the 720 cards in the 1970 top set. Now, these are not autographs yet. This is still building the set. And I paid a little over $100, which is actually pretty good. Some of the cards were really sharp. Some of them were not so great, but I took the best of both of the starter sets, combined them in, and at that point, I was off and running. This was January of 19. I finished the set in July. In this binder, this very binder is where the set is and remains. I put a really, really old, beat up Tom Seaver card from my youth in the binder there, and that's what it looks like. So it's July of 2019, and I've finished my set, and I'm like, what do I do now? So actually, there were two things I did then. I started working on the 71 set, and I could tell from my eBay history that I then bought a starter set of 71 stuff. I had some 71s I had saved from my collection that survived the hurricane. And so I was off to running with that. But the question was, what am I going to do with the 70 set? And I saw, I guess it was somewhere online, that Art Shamsky, the former outfielder for the New York Mets, member of the 1969 Miracle Mets, had written a book about 69 and a little bit more about 69, a little bit more sort of up to date, where he and a bunch of the other teammates went out to meet and visit with Tom Seaver out in California. And the story of that, because Seaver was at that point starting to, suffer from the Alzheimer's or dementia, and had very good days and very bad days. They happened to get him on a good day, and it was a nice, it's a nice book. But Mr. Shamsky and his co-author were going to have a book signing and a lecture, and they were going to sign other things at the Yogi Berra Museum in Montclair, New Jersey. So I decided to take my 1970 Art Shamsky card and go out to the Yogi Berra Museum, and it was a great event. It was in the auditorium there. It's like it's raised level with seats, and it looks kind of like a baseball field, and it's a cool thing. The Yogi Berra Museum is a great place, and I would recommend, if you are anywhere in the neighborhood, to go in there and check it out. But anyway, so Shamsky decides to sign the book, and he will sign one other item, and it was my 1970 Topps, and so I was really happy about that. And that kind of got me started on the collection, the autograph collection. So let me just show you a couple of things here that are pretty cool. So I still have some of my original Topps 1970 cards from when I was 6.5 years old. And I decided, I guess, back then that I wanted to own the cards, and I wanted to put my name on them. So I wrote my name on the top of each one of these cards. And so they're not autographed by the players, they're autographed by me. And I still have them. They're not in my set. They're sort of just in a box of old stuff that I could never, ever get rid of. A card that I collected like this. And of course, as you can see, they're all pretty well loved. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is the 1970 Topps set. There is a method to go about building it that I did, and it's like I said, there's 720 cards. I didn't get team cards signed or leader cards signed or checklists. I had some of the World Series and playoff cards signed, but I don't want to do all of them. And there's no way that you can get the complete set, and I'll tell you why. Because of the tragic fate of two of these gentlemen. Miguel Fuentes was a hard-throwing right-hander from Puerto Rico who was signed by the Seattle Pilots, played most of 1969 in the minors, but came up in September and had some really good outings, and I think the Pilots thought he was going to make the team in 70. And so did Topps. So this card was probably printed in November or December of 69 and distributed in March. Miguel Fuentes was shot to death in a bar in the end of January in his hometown outside of San Juan, and passed away before this set was even issued. So it's not possible, obviously, to get a Miguel Fuentes signed 1970 Topps. Dick Bainey below is actually still alive, and I sent my copy of this card out to Dick Bainey, and it never came back. So this picture right here is from the internet, not actually my card, but it is my card on the right, the Paul Edmonson. Paul Edmonson was a pitcher for the White Sox who had not a great year in '69, but I guess he was good enough that they expected him to make the team in '70, or Topps did. Unfortunately, Paul Edmonson died in a car crash in February of 1970, so he was not alive when this card was issued. So it's not possible to get a complete set of signed 1970 cards because of the sad fate of both of these young men. There's also several other cards that are, if not impossible, then certainly near impossible. Chico Ruiz, who was a player who played for the Reds and later the Angels, has a card on the Angels in the 1970 Topps set. He passed away in early 1972. There is one signed Chico Ruiz 1970 Topps. It is currently on eBay for a price of $1,795. So I don't think I'm getting that anytime soon. Gil Hodges passed away in April of 1972. There are signed 1970 Gil Hodges cards, but they're hard to find and they're expensive. Roberto Clemente passed away on New Year's Eve, 1972. And there are signed and slabbed copies of the 1970 Topps auto of Roberto Clemente, but I am not certain that they are real. Without getting into it, Clemente had a best friend, advisor, bodyguard person by the name of Phil Dorsey, who signed a lot of stuff for him in the 60s and into the 70s. And so there would have been about a year and a half for Clemente to, about 2.5 years, I'm sorry, for Clemente to sign 1970 Topps cards. And I'm not so sure that he did, but that's an issue for another video. There was a player by the name of Bob Christian who passed away of leukemia in 1974. Bob Christian was on the 68 Tigers briefly, and if you are a collector of the 68 Tigers in autographs, Bob Christian, is near impossible. And I don't know if there exists a signed 1970 Topps Bob Christian card. Jim McLaughlin passed away in 1975. Bob Moose, 1976. Don Wilson, 75. Very hard to find signed 1970 copies of those gentlemen. Thurman Munson passed away on August 1st, 1979. We will get into that a little bit later. There's a player by the name of Rick Joseph who played for the Phillies who passed away also in 1979. He's hard to find. There are several manager cards that are difficult to get in this set, particularly Danny Murtaugh, who passed away in 1976, I believe, and Lefty Phillips. Now, Lefty Phillips was the manager of the Angels, and he managed 69, 70, and 71. He passed away in the middle of 72. There is currently one signed, non-graded Lefty Phillips signed 1970 Topps on eBay. I'm not so sure that it is, in fact, a real card because it looks like the pen is more modern than 1970. So I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get a real Lefty Phillips autograph. So when you come down to it, if you talk about 720 cards, you take away all the cards that are kind of impossible, you're down to 700. You take away all the teams, checklists, leader cards, and everything, you're around 650-ish. So I'll get like what my goals are at the end, but in reality, you're talking really about 650 cards would be like the complete set. So what I did discover in 2019 is the good news that many of these players are in fact still alive. Many of them will sign through the mail for free. Many of them will sign through the mail for a small fee. Some of them are a little larger. Many of the fees are earmarked for charity, so it's actually a really good thing to do TTM with some of these players. So I started with the Art Shamsky, and here he is at the Yogi Berra Museum. As you can see, it's sort of it's got like a scoreboard in the background, and he signed my card. I guess a couple minutes after this picture is taken. So I discovered that I could do TTM through the mail, and I'll get into that in a little bit. I could do live signings, I could buy cards, and I could get gifts. So that's the 4 ways that I have gotten my signed 70 top set. So back then, I decided to go about it the old way. let me remove art there and put together a written list. I forget where I printed this out from, but it's the complete set in order. And so I went through, and all the TTMs I sent out are on this left side. All the cards that came back are on this side. Some of the purchases, some of the gifts, and also, unfortunately, some of the players who had passed away. So I went through the entire set. I figured out if guys were still around or if they passed away. And then the question became, how do you get the autographs? I'm sorry, how do you get the addresses to send for the autographs? And I discovered through just looking around that you could get player addresses. First, I went about it the hard way. I was on Facebook, and Bob Berta's daughter was on some of the baseball groups on Facebook, and I asked her, and she gave me her father's address, and I sent it out, and he sent me back a 70 and a 71 signed card. Jim Gosker was on Facebook for a while. Jim Gosker was an outfielder for the Mets and the A's and a few other teams. So I asked Jim Gosker directly for his address. He gave it to me, and I sent it out, and he sent it back. So that seemed to be a good way, but not a particularly efficient way. So what I did is I found a website called, interestingly, not a great name, but it's called Star Tiger. Star Tiger is a sort of a community-based website where people sort of provide information. It's not Wikipedia, but it's kind of like that. You get addresses, you get reviews in a forum of different people, updates on addresses, how much they cost, how long they take, just information that's really helpful for TTM. And it's lots of different celebrities, but also lots of baseball guys. So you put in anybody's name in the search, and you'll come up with information about them. So I have quite a bit of addresses that I got from Star Tiger around this time. Costs $4.95 a month to be a member to get all the information, and I'm actually still subscribed here, and I'll probably do a little bit more. But at some point, you kind of run out of players who were still around, and so I started to do all the players that were free first. Then I started to do the ones with with a small contribution, and I did TTMs really, really thoroughly between August of 2019 and March of 2020, and we obviously know March of 2020 the world changed, and I do not want to say that it's serious that I couldn't do TTMs anymore, because millions of people passed away and our lives were utterly changed for months and months and months, in some cases years. I lost friends. I know other people lost friends. I had COVID 3 times, so I don't want to demean the situation, but just in terms of the 1970 top set build, it changed my approach the hard way. So by then, I pretty much stopped doing TTM, although I still occasionally do it for one reason or another. But I started doing live signings a lot more. So live signings would be shows, private signings, appearances, things like that. And there's a website, actually, a really good one. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. It's called, there we go, share screen. It's called Crave the Auto. It's also not a particularly good name, but Crave the Auto is a really good website if you want to find out about live signings that are taking place, or private signings, and signings where you can mail in and they'll do it for you. And so Crave the Auto is actually really good. The main page will go through by date, different places where the signings are, and then you can click through for links, things like that. Also, over here on the left, you can see you can, put it down to a certain state. Like I'll click on New York, and that'll give me all the signings coming up in New York, and a really, really thorough page. And I was using this like crazy in between August 1st of 2019 and March of 2020 to do essentially live signings when I couldn't do the TTMs. So Let's go into some photos of some live signings that were fun. These are not all the live signings. I do have a lot of photos in a lot of different places, but I put together as many as I could for this video. On the left is Steve Carlton signing. I'm back a little bit at that point. On the right is Rod Carew actually signing 2 cards. This was at the Westchester show, probably, I don't know, maybe October or January of 2020, October of 19, somewhere. This is pre-COVID. This is either the same show or one of the other Westchester shows. That's Jim Perry signing his 1970 Topps card. That was the year he won the Cy Young. So that was a cool one. We'll see that one a little bit later. In the middle is Ed Kranepool. Ed Kranepool passed away last year. The Mets are wearing number 7 armbands in his honor this year. And on the right is Wayne Garrett, also a member of the 69 and 73 Mets. That is Tony Perez and Greg Nettles. That is at the 2022 National in Atlantic City. As you notice, they're not wearing masks, so this is kind of COVID is starting to clear up a little bit at this point. Tony Perez was very nice. Greg Nettles, also very nice. Asked him, actually, I told him that I supported him for the Hall of Fame, and we talked a little bit about that, and he said he doesn't think he's ever going to get in because he pissed off too many writers. So that was an interesting conversation. Here's 2 times that I got Johnny Bench's signature in person. The one on the left, he's signing the main Topps card. That's again 2022 at the National in Atlantic City. And on the right, he's signing the All-Star card from 1970. That is at the 2024 National in Cleveland. This is from the Hofstra show in, I think, maybe 21, late 21. That's Pete Rose signing the All-Star and the regular card. There's a close-up of Pete in the middle. And then on the far right, that is Denny McLain, who signed at a separate table. And he was also pretty nice. He actually put in a bunch of, it's not just his signature, but a bunch of inscriptions of things that he did in his career. And he had a great career for about 2-3 years. These are from, that is Manny Sanguillen with the Pirates hat on. That is Jesus Alou in the middle. Both Alou and Sanguillen signed at the Westchester show in maybe 22 or 23. Jesus Alou has subsequently passed away, RIP, and that is Tony Oliva on the right. That was at Hofstra, and he has just signed the 1970 card there. This was an event that took place in New Jersey, in a hotel right off of the Route 80. Pardon. And I thought it was called Pinstripe Pride, but I actually went back and checked, and it was called A Bronx Tale, and it had a bunch of former Yankees signing, and there was a card show involved, but I was there for the signatures, and it was a fantastic event, and it really got me a nice number of signatures, as you'll see. That's Reggie Jackson, who signed both his regular card and his All-Star card, and he was delightful. I had heard rumors that Reggie wasn't necessarily friendly in person, but I shook his hand and smiled and talked, and he was just delightful, and he signed beautiful signature. In the middle of Louis Tiant, who also was delightful, except the moment when I slid this card across the table to him, because his 1970 card is with the Twins, and it is at the point in his career where he is about to get released. And so he, I guess, didn't like that period of his career. But hey, that's the set I'm doing. So he was nice enough to sign it. Mr. Tiant passed away about a year and a half ago. He's remembered fondly as a Red Sox, and again was delightful. And RIP to him. On the right there is Lou Piniella, who I talked a little bit about the 1978 playoff game, the Bugsy Dent game with him, and he had some good memories of that. So this was a really enjoyable experience. Mr. Roy White on the left there. Also very nice. And on the right was Sparky Lyle, who was a barrel of laughs, signing the card and talking about a whole bunch of different things that were entertaining to everyone who was online, including the people getting their cards signed. So I'll get into that next, but let's talk about TTM. So TTM through the mail. I was doing it, like I said, very, very frequently. Like there were days where I was sending out 5 or 6 cards to players who mostly were signing for free, so they weren't superstars, they weren't Hall of Famers, although I did get some Hall of Famers. We'll get into those later. But just regular guys. And some of them wrote notes. Some of them sent extra stuff. Some of them just were terrific, interactions through the mail. So I put together a letter, which was a form letter, but I had some sections of it that were for the player in particular. So this one is to Camilo Pascual, and it said, "Hope this letter finds you in good health," which most of these gentlemen were in their 70s or 80s when I was writing this. I recently completed my 1970 top set, the first year I collected as a kid, and my next goal is to get each card autographed by every living player represented in the set. Subsequently, I want the whole set, but at the time, I was sending these out to players who were still alive. In this particular case, I enclosed $10. Some of them were free, some of them were small fee, stamped self-addressed envelope, and one card from the set in like a top loader or a front loader, and then asked if you would please sign the card, put it back in the SE, the self-addressed stamped envelope, and thanking them. Camilo Pascual sent not only the card back, but a nice little best of luck autograph. So that was nice. There were people like Mickey Lolich, required $10, but it was going to charity. So his wife sent a little letter saying, thanks, Dan, for the donation, and we will match it to one of our 16 charities. So there you go. There were other people who wrote small things like Larry Jaster wrote "Don't Sell," which I haven't. Joe Moeller sent a little guide about his religious conversion, and he signed it below. Other players sent things like pictures. Johnny Edwards sent me not only the signed 70, but also 3 autographed pictures of him with different teams: Reds, Astros, and Cardinals. Bob Meyer sent a nice little letter saying, "Best wishes for you succeeding with your ambitious goals." Bob Myers also sent something else, which we'll see on the next slide. Pete Ward sent a couple of signed index cards. Dave Watkins, who became a doctor after his short career as a catcher, sent me his card, his doctor card, also signed. Jim Miles, who was a pitcher briefly with the Senators, said, "Thanks, Dan, for something, an old timer. Hope you get your collection signed." And then it says, there you go. Jim Miles sent that nice note. Al Spangler, who was one of the first people I sent to, interestingly enough, well, not the first, because it's August 29th, so I know it's later in that month, or the first month. "Thankful to be alive and to sign this card for you. Good luck in your project and hope it is a great success." Thank you, Mr. Spangler. Here's one from Jim Maloney saying thanks. This one from Bill Melton, the slugger for the White Sox. Bill is unfortunately, since 2019, this was written. He's since passed away, but Bill Melton wrote me a very nice best of luck. And so you also, in these scenarios, get, like I said, some pictures. George Culver sent a picture of him with the Indians signed, and also with the Astros signed, along with the card. And Culver sent me some other stuff too. Mickey Stanley, the outfielder for the Tigers, sent me also a signed picture, as did Ken Tatum, pitcher for the Angels and Red Sox. Lindy McDaniel, who has subsequently passed on, R.I.P. Lindy McDaniel, sent this nice picture with a signature and some information about his career. Let's see. We got some other stuff. Darryl Cheney sent some information about his project, and the I guess he has a charity. And I'll leave this letter to the last. But here's a nice one from Chuck Hartenstein, who sent me a bunch of stuff, and you'll see those in a few. Good luck with your collection, Chuck Hartenstein. R.I.P. Chuck. He passed away a couple of years ago. Bill Dillman sent a little note saying, apologize, I changed my address. And here's another good one. So Tim Cullen, my grandmother's maiden name was Cullen. And so she was from Boyle, County Roscommon. And she was from a large clan of Cullens that inhabited the area in the counties of Sligo, Roscommon, and Leitrim. And I said, maybe we're distant cousins, because Tim Cullen obviously has the same name. So he writes back, nice to know I have a distant possible cousin in New York, New York. Most of my family is from Boston. Keep the name going, Tim Cullen. So there you go. This is wonderful. It's nice to go back through a lot of this stuff. This is Gary Wozlewski, who pitched for the 67 Red Sox, the Expos, and later on the Yankees. Good luck with your collection, Dan. Glad to help. Thank you for your contribution. I'm assuming there was a small contribution involved. Bob Aspromonte sent out this sort of highlights of his career, also signed. Really cool. Bob Aspromonte, just getting this stuff is amazing. So when I sent the letter to Ron Reed was a pitcher for the Braves in 70. He later pitched for the Phillies. I was like, I had seen, I guess, a video of him. He yielded a hit to Rusty Staub that gave Rusty Staub some sort of pinch hitting record. I don't remember what, but I saw the video where Ron Reed gets the ball back on the mound, then walks over to first base, hands Rusty Staub the ball, shakes his hand, gives a little bow, and then goes back to the mound. So I thought that was really cool that he was showing respect for a player like Rusty, who was generally very well liked amongst the players and respected. So he wrote me a 2-page letter about that, and also thanking me for my contribution to his charity, because there was a small contribution with the auto request, and so. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, this he's telling me about the Rusty situation. So that's kind of like part of the great thing about doing the TTMs is, a lot of times you get the ball back, not the ball, I'm sorry, you get the card back signed, and that's it. And that's fine. That's all you're asking for. But a lot of times these guys send out this great stuff. So I guess it was 1970 tops. The Pilots, so the 70 Top set is produced in the late winter and released in March, but the Pilots didn't move from Seattle to Milwaukee until like March of 1970. So the set was already done. So all of the cards for the Brewers that year are all in Pilots uniforms in that set. So in 2019, Topps put out this set called the Inaugural Brewers 1970. It's part of the Heritage series. I don't collect it. I didn't collect it. But I guess the guys who were on the team got copies of these cards, and they sent them to me. So Dave Baldwin, Bob Locker, and Bob Meyer all sent me not only the return 1970 card, but also some other materials like these cards and some other stuff. Dave Baldwin, will get into it, also wrote a book called Snake Jazz, which I will link to below. So when I sent out to Dave Baldwin, I sent the card and the book, and he sent me back the card signed, the book signed, this card, and a bunch of other cards. So on the next page, you can see a lot of these guys sent out. These aren't actual cards from those years. Some of them are mock-ups, and some of them are cards that didn't even exist. Like, for instance, I don't think Chuck Hartenstein has a Blue Jays card in 1977, but he did play for the Blue Jays, so he signed that and gave it to me. You can see Culver, 74 Phillies. Hartenstein actually sent me a Cardinals card and a Red Sox card. Darrell Chaney sent another card. Dave Baldwin played for, I guess, the White Sox, the Brewers, and the Senators, and he sent cards of each of those signed. So these, again, are the kinds of things that you get when you send out TTM. So I wanted to go through some of the binder pages. As you can tell, the binder is very thick, so you can't go through all of them, but there's some cool stuff on some of these binder pages that I wanted to talk about. Top left, two binder pages here, but the top left is Art Shamsky. which is the card that he signed for the first card I got signed in the set. And of course, Reggie's in there. Some of these were done TTM. The Dave Cash rookie card was done through a website called Past Pros. They're sort of signing agents for older players, and they give you the address, and they, guarantee you that it's going to get to them, and you pay a small fee, and you get the card back. And I used Past Pros quite a number of times. As you can see, Fritz Peterson signed a bottom left. Fritz was not well at the time, and he has subsequently passed away, but very happy to get that one back. I believe Ray Culp has also passed away. It's kind of an ongoing theme here when you talk about men who are in their 70s and 80s, and 6 years later, a lot of them haven't survived. But the page on the right, I believe I have 8 signatures there. The only one I don't have is Jerry Johnson, who I did try to get so that I could complete this page, but I don't think there was an address for him. This page also has Manny Mota, who I got by sending to the Dodger Stadium, and it came back. And, of course, Phil Negro, the Hall of Famer. We'll see him later as I have put together the Hall of Famers and slides, too. The page on the left, also a lot of signatures on there. I think that most of these are TTM. I believe the Mike McCormick I purchased. Same with Steve Hamilton. As you can see, some of them actually personalized it to me. Wilbur Wood wrote to Dan, Wilbur Wood, which is nice. There's the Dave Baldwin card that he signed, and the Jim Perry card. And there's a Darrell Evans rookie card, which is a high number, and nice to get that signed by Evans. That was TTM. There's the Pete Rose. This page has all 8 players that are on the page are signed. The team is not signed. You'll notice Rusty Staub has a PSA flip in there. I cracked that out. My strategy early on was to do all, I wanted them all bindered. So in the early stages, a couple of these I cracked out. At some point, I stopped cracking the slabs, and we'll see the slabs in a little bit. But the Rusty was, obviously passed away at that point, and I did want to get Rusty in the collection. There's a couple of guys on the right. You can see Murtaugh not signed, difficult one to get. Buzz Steven subsequently did pass away, and Costco also. Bob Humphrey played for the Senators. And then I got that rookie card. I'll talk about that a little bit later, the double signature with Denny Doyle and Larry Boa. On the left, there's the Greg Nettles from the 2022. Lyndon McDaniel we talked about. Scipio Spinks went through Pass Pros. J.C. Martin signed not only that J.C. Martin card, but he also signed that World Series card called Martin's Bunt Ends Deadlock, which is a card I always loved, and he signed that one too. And he also wrote, I think he wrote on the Deadlock card, World Series Champs, 1969. Tommy Harper was done through a live signing that took place, a private live signing up in Massachusetts. I don't remember the name of the company, but I've sent up to them for a number of cards. There you can see Johnny Callison was another one that I cracked out. There's Lefty Phillips, who is going to be tough to get. There's on the left page there, you see Tony Taylor. There's the Lou Piniella and the Jim Maloney that we talked about. Tony Taylor was a sad one because I was considering and was actually planning on going down to Philadelphia to get a signature of Tony Taylor at him and another player were coming to a store to sign. And I just couldn't do it. And then he got sick. I think he had a stroke inside of, the Phillies home field, and passed away not too long after that. But that was kind of sad. I did get the autograph signed by Tony Taylor. It is unfortunately personalized to someone else. So on the right there, you can see the Tiant, Brooks Robinson, who was a great signer. I sent him 2 cards. I think it was $60, and he sent back that card and the All-Star card, which was great. Excuse me. On the left, you can see Dick Hall in the middle there. Dick Hall came up in the 50s. At the time I sent this out in the tail end of 2019, I do believe he was not in good health. That card came back to me 2 years later. I think Dick Hall went through some health problems, rallied for a while, signed some cards, and I know that he ultimately did pass away. Jerry Grody from the Mets was $5 through his website. There's the Sanguine card, and Munson we'll talk about a little bit later. On the far right is a double signee with Jerry Royce and Leron Lee. We'll talk about that in a second. There's the Joe Moeller card. So double signs. These are a little difficult to do because there are plenty of double rookie cards where one of the players is no longer with us. But in all of these cases, when I sent them out, all the people were, in fact, alive. Vita Blue I sent out, and he signed it, I don't know why, twice. And then ultimately, when it came back, I sent it through Pass Pros to Gene Tennis, and he signed it. So it's nice to have that one. Bernie Carbo had substance abuse problems in his career, and then after his career, subsequently became a model citizen. Now is a rehab counselor himself, and is still alive. I believe he lives in Florida, so those are both TTMs. The Fred Bean Terry Crowley I just got at the National. The Leron Lee and Jerry Royce. Jerry Royce was Pass Pros. I got that and then sent it out subsequently to Leron Lee, and he signed it TTM. Boa Doyle is kind of sad. Larry Boa is a great ambassador for the game and signs all the time. And I sent this out to him, and he returned it in like a week. And then I sent it out to Denny Doyle. Unfortunately, Denny Doyle was not in good health. He did sign this, and then he passed away probably about a month after I got this. So a little sad, but nice to get both signatures on that rookie card. That is a cool card. And so I also mentioned slabs. There are lots of different ways to purchase from eBay, from shows, in people's display cases, particular autograph sellers, private signings. So one autograph seller I do want to speak about that I haven't mentioned yet is Phil Marks. Phil Marks is from the Philadelphia area. He's been in autographs for decades. He's worked for both PSA and SGC. He sets up at a lot of shows these days. He was at the National. I'm sure he's at White Plains this weekend. But Phil has been really quite helpful in helping me build this. Whenever I see him, he takes out his 70s to see if I need any. He'll find them in other boxes. At the National, I got that fantastic slab of Earl Weaver, which we'll see in a couple of minutes. But so you go through, ultimately you can get Nolan Ryan to TTM, but it's very expensive. And so I figured I'd just get him in a slab. I bought that in White Plains, I guess, in March. But the other two were very expensive. And, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, you're going to pay up for, obviously. And I wanted them authenticated. I'm not going to buy a raw autograph of Willie Mays at this point. The next batch is Hall of Famers. Ernie Banks, obviously he's passed away, but he did sign a lot. Lou Brock, same thing. And Earl Weaver, the one I just got from Phil Marks at the National, also 3 terrific slabs. And then a couple more, George Scott, Tommy John, which I had in my last video, and Kurt Blefary. So only 9 slabs, but I do have a lot of Hall of Famers. In those 388 cards that I have signed, I have 32 Hall of Famers, plus the Hall of Famers that are in here. So we can go through those quickly. There's Yaz, of course. Jim Cott was a TTM. Jim Cott takes the money that you give him for the signature, and he donates it to a local Little League, and he gives you information about the Little League, and so that was really cool. There's Reggie. Killebrew was in a sealed CAS like this one, and I cut it and put it in the binder. Same thing with Billy Williams. I think Torrey was the last slab that I cracked, so I decided after Torrey I probably should just keep the slab separate. There's some more here. Carlton, of course, we talked about. Carew, we talked about. Ferguson Jenkins was a recent live signing at the last White Plains show. Is Tony Perez from 2022 National. Jim Bunning was a gift from Dylan Brennan. Cards with the Story from Twitter, who runs the Wednesday Twitter thread. So thank you for Dylan for that. And this is the last set of Hall of Famers. Raleigh Fingers does sign a lot, but that was a TTM for $10. Orlando Cepeda was a TTM for, I believe, 10 or 20. RIP. Orlando Cepeda passed away recently. Al Kaline is a sad one. TTM that and got it back. And about 3 days after I got the package, it was announced that Mr. Kaline had passed away. So that was one of the last signatures he ever signed, sadly. So I just showed this one briefly. Tony Kenigliero. This is one of the star cards in this autograph build, because Tony Kenigliero, if you know the story, was beaned in 1967, in August of 67. Missed the balance of 67, including the World Series. Missed all of 68. Came back in 69. He was pretty good. 1970, he was fabulous. But after 70, his the eye that he had been hit in the beaning started to have problems again, and he was getting blurred vision, and ultimately he retired at the end of the 1971 season. He went through some difficult times. He passed away, I believe, in 1990. And so Tony Kenigliero is a sad story. I don't know how many he signed, but there are some 70 autographs around. I've seen them, but they're very expensive. This one I got off Collector Connection for a fairly reasonable number. So happy to have this in the collection. There are some that I'm still missing. I do not have Tom Seaver or Bob Gibson or Ron Santo. Those are 3 autographs that I'm actively pursuing via slabs. So we'll see what we can do with that. Seaver is expensive, as is Gibson. So the fourth way that you can get TTM, live signings, purchases, and you can do gifts. You can get gifts. And I'm happy to say that throughout my time of this collection, I have received gifts from any number of people. The last one just came in yesterday. So let me talk about this. I think it's on the next slide. Yeah, the next slide. So Tony Southern Collector, a great YouTuber, good friend. His friend Tim collected in the 80s, 70s, 80s with his dad. His dad was nicknamed Bugsy. So Bugsy had a huge autograph collection that he and Tim together had acquired. And then when Tim kind of got out of the hobby, when he went to college and got married, Bugsy kept collecting and amassed a really large collection. So on Tony's channel, Tim appeared, I guess, a few months ago and did part 1 of the Bugsy collection, which is a fantastic video, which I will be linking to down below. And then I met Tim at the National, and we hit it off, and we've been texting a little bit since then. And Tim started his own channel too, which is great. I believe it's called the Bugsy Collection. And I'll link to that below. And Tim has his first video up, which is great. I've gone back and watched some first videos of not only my own channel, but some other folks. And first videos are notoriously awkward. But Tim hit it out of the park on his first video. And so congratulations to him. I would suggest that if you follow the link that I will have down below, that you go and subscribe to Tim's new channel. But the Bugsy Collection does have some 1970 autos. And out of the blue, Tim just sent me some pictures. I had most of them except for these two. So I am now the proud owner, and very proud owner, of a couple of cards from the Bugsy Collection that fit right into my 1970 Topps binder, which is fantastic. And this is why we do this, is so that we can have connections, not only with the cards, the players, the autographs, but the people that we get them from. I mean, Bugsy to me will live forever, because there he is right there on those 2 autographs. He handed these up. Tim sent me a little note saying he believes that these were signed in person at Nashville Sounds. The Nashville Sounds is a minor league team from Nashville. And so I did a little research after I got them to find out that Pat Dobson was the Sounds pitching coach in 1980 and 81. He then went on to be a pitching coach in the major leagues after that. But so this autograph dates to his time with the Sounds in 1980 or 81, which is exactly when Tim and Bugsy were doing a lot of their autograph collecting at Sounds games. Jim Cosman's a little difficult, or a little different, not difficult. Did research on Cosman, came up with an article from the newspaper from Nashville all about Jim Cosman's connection to Nashville. He went to high school there. He went to Middle Tennessee State. He worked as a bat boy for the Nashville Sounds. And so he has a lot of connection to Nashville and the Sounds. I'm assuming he probably showed up at a game as like an alumni kind of thing. And Bugsy and Tim got his autograph. So Jim Cosman on this card. So happy to get those. Going to wrap it up a little bit. I don't need to show this right now, but we'll show it in a few minutes. So what's next? Or what are we doing? Like I said, I'm never going to get 720. It's literally impossible, but I could get 600, 650. That would be about the point where I'm figuring that I'm done. But some stuff pops up. There is a St. Louis Collectors on the web. They do a lot of shows. They also do private signings, and I just found out that Bobby Tolan, who I do not have a signed card from, is going to be signing through the St. Louis Collectors in the end of August. I think the deadline is August 27th, so I'm bringing this to the office tomorrow to send out to them with a fee, whatever it is, through their website, and then you get the card back. I've gone through them a few times. They've gotten me some really tough ones, like Amos Otis, I think, came through them, and a couple other guys that had St. Louis connections. But I'm also going to be continuing to buy on eBay. If somebody from the 1970s set is at a show and I don't have them, I'll do that. Trades, etc. Like I said, the goal would be somewhere around 600 to 650. And this is kind of the ultimate goal. This card is, it says Pop 4 on it, $10,000. Thurman Munson signed anywhere from 6 to 12 of these 1970 Topps rookie cards. I think the Pop 4 may be how many are actually in PSA slabs. But this card is owned currently by Abe Stark Cards. That is Eric, I believe his name is, from Abe Stark Cards. And this photo I took at White Plains probably in March. And so I thought, I don't know, I've messaged with Eric a little bit here and there. I thought about putting all my national money into getting this, but I don't know. We'll see if this ever comes to fruition. But I know it's out there. He's had it for a while. I'm assuming he will ultimately move it. I'm not sure who's gonna buy it, if it's gonna be me or somebody else. But this would kind of be my ultimate Grail card, and that would be how I kind of feel like once I get up to about 600, 650 and get the Munson, I would be happy to say that I completed the 70 set. But at this point, 388, not so shabby. Should be up at 400 by the end of this year. And I will continue this mega project, as I've called it. And so my 1970 Topps auto set build continues. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I felt like it was a nice trip for me down a bit of memory lane because it's been 6 years, looking at some cards and some of the keepsakes from this project and some of the cool things that have happened for me, both with the players and the autos and the experiences and the dealers and, of course, most importantly, the friends. That's the build. I should say tomorrow night. I'm recording this Saturday night. Tomorrow night at 9:00, Sunday night, the 17th, I will be hosting a live stream on the For Collectors regular Sunday night live stream with 3 fantastic guests. And we're going to be talking about the National Hangover. And so, it'll be kind of facetious a little bit, but there's some serious parts to it about how you deal with, the big come down from the big event. So that should be fun. It's a live stream, so anything could happen. And next week, I do not have a show planned for next week, but next Saturday, I will have a show. I'll figure something out. Maybe you have a guest, maybe not. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I should say, if you have any 1970 autographed cards, please get in touch. Leave a comment because I am continuing to build. And I know some of you have some cards out there. I've talked to people here and there. And so, I'm willing to purchase or trade or however I can acquire cards that I don't have to get from 388 to 600, let's say. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm confident that I will ultimately get there. So Anyway, folks, let me say goodbye and end the recording, and we'll see you next week.